The door was a shock, a splash of cerulean in the gothic grey of the university. It hummed with an energy that felt almost alive, forbidden. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat urging me closer. Professor Wright had vanished through that door. He hadn't even looked back. Didn't need to. The pull was already there, an invisible thread connecting us. Or was it a noose tightening around my neck? The night felt heavy, the air thick with unspoken promises and potential danger. I could turn back, walk away, but the cerulean door beckoned, whispering my name. I took a step toward the unknown. It had started subtly, a lingering glance after class, a whispered comment about my essays, the way his fingers brushed mine when he returned my graded work. Professor Wright was brilliant, charismatic, and utterly off-limits. Yet here I was, following him into the bowels of the library at midnight. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a text from my roommate. Movie night, it read. Innocent, normal, everything about this night felt the opposite. I silenced the phone and pushed open the cerulean door. The lock clicked shut behind me with a finality that stole my breath. The air inside was cool and still, heavy with the scent of aged paper and leather. Shadows danced in the flickering gaslight, hiding more than they revealed. Professor Wright was a silhouette at the end of a narrow corridor, his long frame swallowed by the darkness. He moved with a confidence that both intrigued and terrified me. Every instinct screamed at me to run. This was wrong, dangerous, but still I followed, each step a betrayal of my better judgment. What was I doing? The library was a labyrinth of towering bookshelves and winding staircases. It felt ancient, filled with the ghosts of forgotten stories. Professor Wright moved through the maze with ease, his footsteps silent on the worn wooden floor. He hadn't spoken a word since leaving his office. The silence crackled with unspoken tension. We passed rows of books bound in leather and iron, their titles a blur of dead languages and forgotten lore. What was he looking for in this place, and why bring me? The silence was broken only by the beating of my own heart, a frantic rhythm against the hushed whispers of the library. He stopped at a section hidden deep within the stacks. The books here were different, older, bound in strange materials, their spines bare, their secrets hidden within. He finally turned to me, his eyes lit by a strange intensity. "You're curious," he said, his voice low and husky. He was right. I was curious. About him, about the power he seemed to wield over me, about the secret knowledge hidden within these forbidden books. I nodded, unable to speak, my voice stolen by the intensity of his gaze. Professor Wright pulled a volume from the shelf. It was heavier than it looked, bound in what appeared to be human skin. A chill ran down my spine. He opened the book, the pages crackling in protest. They were filled with strange symbols and diagrams, a language I didn't recognize but felt instinctively afraid of. He caught my gaze, a flicker of amusement in his eyes. "Knowledge is power," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "But power comes at a price." What price, I wanted to ask, but the words died in my throat. He began to read, his voice a low chant that seemed to reverberate through the silent library. The air grew colder, the shadows deeper, or was it just my imagination? As he read, a transformation took place. The confident professor seemed to melt away, replaced by something darker, more ancient, something that made my blood run cold. He wasn't just a man, he was something else entirely, something powerful and dangerous. Terror tightened its grip on my throat. I needed to escape. Now. He slammed the book shut, his eyes blazing with an unearthly light. "I can give you this power," he said, his voice deep and resonant, no longer human. "But you must choose knowledge or ignorance, light or darkness." The room spun. My stomach churned. What was happening? Who was this creature wearing Professor Wright's skin? He stepped closer, his shadow engulfing me. "Choose wisely," he whispered, his breath hot on my cheek. "Your decision will change everything." I stumbled back, hitting the bookshelf with a thud. My mind raced, desperate for escape, but the cerulean door was gone, vanished into thin air. Professor Wright, no, the creature wearing his face smiled, a slow, predatory grin that sent shivers down my spine. There is no escape from destiny, he said, his voice echoing in the cavernous library. I was trapped, caught in a web of my own making. How could I have been so stupid? Panic surged through me, a tidal wave of fear and regret. He reached out, his touch sending a jolt of fear through my body. "Don't be afraid," he whispered, his voice a seductive purr. "Embrace the darkness. Embrace your true potential." I recoiled, my heart pounding against my ribs. This wasn't knowledge, this was madness, and I was about to pay the price for my curiosity. "No," I choked out, my voice barely a whisper, but it was too late. He was upon me, his touch cold and invasive, his eyes burning with an unholy light. And then everything went black.